everyone, and welcome to Step Into Your Life with Julianne Williams. Today we have a topic that is very serious, but something that I believe that we need to talk about as a society, if not even just a world. And it is something that affects so many families, and that is drug and alcohol addiction. So today, this episode, it may not be for children. It's not going to be graphic in any way. We're not going to talk about anything that would be unsettling in terms of, drug use and this and that. But what we are going to talk about is a sensitive topic around drug and alcohol addiction. So I just wanted to preface that. So if that activates any emotions for you that you don't want to discover today, this is probably a good time to not proceed. But then also, if you know someone or a family who is experiencing the drug and alcohol addiction process and loop in their family, please share this with them. We are really wanting to reach people to make a difference. So today, I do have a special guest. Her name is Molly O'Bannon, and she is a young lady that I have known for a long time and friend of our family. I have witnessed this family struggle through a young child that has experienced drug addiction at probably the most deepest levels. And I'm a little tongue-tied, I apologize, because it just makes me so sad. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about what it's like to experience this as a family and get some advice. So let me welcome Molly here into the set. Okay, and this is going to be, she's going to really be vulnerable with us today, so please bear with us as we go through this episode. So, Molly, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
We talk about this a lot, and we really want to make a difference for people that we know and love, and people who we don't want to have this happen in their family or with somebody that they love or know. So, Molly, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. So I'm Molly O'Bannon. I'm from Kingsburg. I'm local, born and raised here. I'm 21. I like to say I'm a child of God. That is the first thing I am and will always be. I just opened the Collective downtown Kingsburg. So that is a business that I'm running right now. I love it. My mom's taught me a lot about business, owning mercantile. I was in about 7th grade, so I think 12 or 13 at the time, when my brother's drug addiction started. So it's been quite a long time of dealing with his drug addiction as a family, as a sister. I'm the oldest daughter. I have 3 other sisters and 2 older brothers. Carson's the brother right above me, so he's about 2.5 years older than me. So we were very close growing up. And so to say that his drug addiction hit very hard is an understatement for sure. He, for a very long time, still now, was a big focal point of our family. His humor, his heart, just who he was, just to know him was to love him, or is to love him, I guess, still. But yeah, this is, I think, the best way to raise awareness is to talk about it. I think it's the best way just in general to help people. Talking about it, I think, is really like the biggest thing you can do, is talking about it, making people feel seen, making people feel like they're not alone. I think that's why AA and all those things are so big, is because it's addiction can be very lonely, like for an addict.
Yeah.
And so,
and it can be very lonely for a family.
Well, yes, for a family too.
And we'll talk about that.
Yeah, right? Yeah, 100%. But so I'm very happy to be here and to talk about it, because it's one of the biggest ways to help.
Sure. I am so proud that you have taken something that is so difficult to a place where you want to help other people, because that was part of healing too.
Yeah.
So I'm really proud of you, because that's a really big step.
Yes.
So for a minute, let's think about your mission work real quick around drug and alcohol addiction, because I don't want this to be at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
What is it that people can do that can help save lives. Besides not starting with drugs, what is it that you are really working hard to get in people's hands and save lives?
So about, I think, 2.5 years ago was the first time that Carson had overdosed. And he was in our home, and my parents found him, and it was a very traumatic experience. You know, we are so lucky, like us as kids, that we have our parents, and, you know, they've handled the terrible, like, seeing all that stuff. And so I feel very blessed that we weren't in that situation, but just, you know, to get the phone call to see the pain in your parents and your siblings and your grandparents and your aunts and uncles and cousins, it affects everyone. So after he overdosed, I was on Instagram one day, and an ad came up on Instagram, and it was for endoverdose.com. And so basically they're a nonprofit out of LA, and the founders are all EMTs, so they've seen a lot of addiction firsthand, you know, going to the 911 calls and dealing with people overdosing. A lot of them, and I think actually all of them, they've had friends that have died from overdosing. They've had family members struggle with addiction. And so they started this nonprofit organization where essentially you can go onto their website and then you sign up, and you get a full course on how to use Narcan, what drug addiction is, what drug overdose is, why people overdose on drugs, how to administer Narcan, what Narcan is. You know, they give you basically it's like a 45-minute lesson on Narcan and why it's so essential to have on your person and to just have around your house. They're amazing. But once you do that, they send you free Narcan. And so I feel like since I did the course, I got Narcan, I became very outspoken about it because of my brother's overdose. And it's so important. I was looking into stuff before coming onto the podcast, just, you know, facts, not even like feelings, just facts. Right. And 50% of overdoses that end in death can be helped. Like they can be stopped. Yeah. Like it's mostly people either don't have Narcan, or they have Narcan and they don't know how to administer it. They don't know how to tell that someone's overdosing because there's many signs of it, or it's too late.
And so just real quick, tell the audience, just in case there is someone who is not familiar with what Narcan is, what it is and what it does.
Yeah, so Narcan, it's essentially, I'm like trying to think of the best, easiest way, like to dumb it down in a sense. It's basically, you'll get it in a box, and it's like a nasal spray that it just comes in a little package. You open it. It's super simple. It really is. And that's I feel like the disheartening thing is that Narcan's such like a simple thing to use, but I feel like it's just not talked about, or it's really bizarre to me. Essentially, when you administer it, you just tilt someone's head back and you administer it into their nostrils, and you wait, I think it's about 30 minutes. And if they haven't reacted to it, you give them another dose of it. But yeah, so it essentially just reverses the overdose.
Yeah, the effects of the drugs. And
yes,
certain kind of drugs, right?
Yes, it is. And it's also too, though, it's why I really like endoverdose.com is that they teach you about it. Because I think, too, what a lot of people don't know is that you can still overdose after giving someone Narcan.
Okay.
So essentially, like, and we learned this after Carson's overdose because, you know, when he came back to, the EMTs were kind of telling us, you know, you can still overdose. So some people have to have multiple doses of Narcan. And so that's why it's so important to just have it. Like,
right.
And more than one, like, just have it. But yeah, that's Narcan.
Okay, great. Just because that way people understand the mission. And so what you really want to do is to spread the word to get Narcan in people's hands so that even if they're on the street and they see somebody overdosing, they would be able to help them, right?
Yeah, well, and you know, I think my big thing is I was so young when Carson's addiction started. And, when you're that young, you don't fully grasp things to a certain sense. And growing up while dealing with Carson's addiction, I feel like I've learned a lot. And I think it's very important to talk to kids my age and younger about it.
Okay.
Because I don't think Narcan, I don't think it's just a thing that, local businesses may carry or I think everyone should be carrying Narcan.
Okay.
Because even end overdose, they go to schools.
Right.
They go to schools and they do their lessons in schools. They give out free Narcan to all the students. And I remember I was looking at their Instagram one day, and after one of their classes they gave out of school, one of the kids is at a concert on a weekend, and he threw his Narcan in his bag, and he saved a life at the concert. So, you never know. You really don't. You never know if you're walking down the street, or you're at a concert, or you're at a restaurant, or, there's just, it's addictions everywhere right now, and people are overdosing.
And it can even be used where we hear cases where children touch fentanyl, or we touch things. And if you have it, that can actually even work for someone who is not a drug user.
Yeah.
And accidentally gets a hold of something, it can also reverse the fentanyl.
100%. And even to end overdose, what they do, there's kids shouldn't do drugs.
Right.
And drugs aren't good. Drugs are bad.
They are very bad.
They are very bad. And they shouldn't do them. But there is this stuff nowadays where it's in everything. Fentanyl is in everything.
Yes.
So you even have, people that recreationally smoke marijuana, and you have people like that. And so end overdose too, they also have on their website test strips.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, if you're gonna smoke weed or whatever, which I'm not saying to do so,
right,
they do have test strips so you can make sure that you're not gonna overdose on fentanyl, because it's in everything. It really is. It's like you said, you could touch something,
mm-hmm.
and it could have fentanyl on it, it could have anything on it. So I stand by them pretty heavily, and I tell a lot of people about them for sure.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So that's really, I wanted to get that out there, because I know this is something that you're working so hard to get out.
Yes.
So, and if we talk about why are you so passionate about this, it's because the experience, I was saying, that, you've had as a sister.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, you were really young when Carson started with drugs. And so, how did he start getting involved in drugs?
So I remember, it's so weird. I remember the day I feel like everything, hit the wall. It was weed. He was smoking weed. So, and that's the crazy thing too, is that why I'm so passionate about it, is because you never know.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know if your kid, they could be smoking weed, and, a lot of, well, it's just weed, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But it can lead to other things. And, these kids are partying, there's a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, he started with that, and then, it, I guess, just took a turn.
And let's mention too that you're raised in a Christian household. Your parents are very open to conversation. You live in a beautiful area. There's no reason. It's not like somebody can say, well, so here's a kid who essentially had everything.
Yeah.
And started smoking weed for whatever reason, probably to experiment and try it. And, here we go. And it started this sort of snowball effect for him of what turned into a really, really, really difficult journey. So
yeah, and I always say too, I tell a lot of people, addiction doesn't discriminate.
That's right.
It doesn't anything, or it doesn't, anything involving mental health, anything. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter, how much money you have in your pocket, how big your house is, how put together you are. It hits everyone. I think you never know.
So let's kind of tell people the depths, I guess, of where this has gone for your family, so that there's an understanding of why. I am a 100% believer of no drugs.
Yeah.
So that is me. Not everybody agrees with me, and they don't have to. But Carson is the case study for me in my mind. about why I really am afraid of drugs and, turning a blind eye as a parent. Because I think we do feel like, well, everybody's doing it, or it's just weed. And we know also that the marijuana today is very different than the marijuana of the past. But let's talk a little bit about what has happened to Carson through starting with smoking pot, and then now today, you guys don't know where he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's the hardest. Like, I've talked to you about the grief of that. I think that's the hardest thing with addiction is you kind of don't know who you're looking at anymore in a sense. Mm-hmm. He's sick, he is, but it changes every single thing about that person you can even imagine. And there's so much grief in that of, I don't have the same brother that I had when I was little. I don't have those normal family experiences that others have. Every family has their hardships and their troubles. They do, 100%. But I think that's been the hardest thing is not knowing where he is. And, even when he is home, he's not there.
Yeah.
Like the difference in what the drugs have done to him and his brain and everything that's come along with it. I don't know. There's not even words that can describe what it does to a person. It's, they become a liar. They become a manipulator. They will do anything they can to get that one thing. And that's to steal from you. That's, to say the most terrible things to you. I would never wish on anyone. That's 100%.
So just so people, in the audience know the story, Carson, again, darling young kid. I've watched him grow up from a very, very nice family. So he started there. He has been to jail numerous times. He has been homeless numerous times. He has been injured very significantly during drug deals and other things. It's you see this really sweet kid who has lived a life now where he has seen and heard things that you would never ever think. Mm-hmm. And then it comes home, right, to where you guys are, and you've had to deal with all kinds of things. Mm-hmm. Now, recently, Carson was home. He got out of jail.
Yes.
And now, of course, we don't know where he is.
Yes.
So we're praying for that, for a really miraculous healing and return, because God is able. Mm-hmm. What was the dynamic that you want to share with people so that when they think about excusing the fact that their loved one, whether it be their child, their spouse, their friend, starts doing drugs, what does that dynamic start to look like? Because I know this week was pretty rough.
Yeah. I feel like it's pretty easy to tell when someone starts doing drugs.
Okay.
It's like I said, they're a whole different person. Mm-hmm. They're a whole different person. They're saying things they would never say. They're doing things they would never do. I mean, it's as simple as like, I've been around Carson for so long and I've seen him many times on drugs. I can see it in his eyes. Like, I can see it in, the way he walks. Like, it's just, I feel like it's one of those things where you'll almost know. Like, I don't know. But also, that's also why it's important to test your kids and drug test. Mm-hmm. Because my mom always says, and 100%, and we've seen it, as soon as there's a problem, mm-hmm. with your child or with anyone, when you want to do a drug test, then something's like on, right? Like something's not right. And that was like a very big thing of when everything started was the fighting drug tests.
Yeah.
Turning it on us and, we're crazy and we're this and we're that. So I feel like that just seeing the characteristic change and seeing the mannerisms and things like that. I mean, especially too, when you're close to that person, you live with them, you're going to know, like, you're going to see it.
Right.
100%.
So you definitely see those behavior changes.
Yeah.
In things they say, things they do, their body language, they tend to be usually a little bit more jumpy, right?
Yeah.
And depending on the drug, of course.
Yeah, and like uneasy.
Yeah.
And very, just very secretive,
And not wanting to
closed off.
And like, for instance, Carson was just a really, like you said, fun-loving, funny, and I know because I said I want you to be a little kid.
Yeah.
So, I think one barrier I know for me as a parent, I didn't want to hear. And I think as people, we don't want to hear that someone that we love is doing drugs. And so I know that one thing your mom and I have talked about a lot is being open to listening to other people if they have suspicions about drugs, because if you don't see it, sometimes somebody else does. And but it's really hard to have that conversation with someone to say, hey, I saw this, I saw that. Is there a way you think that we can approach people in a way that doesn't just make everything close off, like, do not talk about my kid like that? I know everybody's different, but is there a way that you think that people, a more common way that we can let people know that we have some information that we just want to share?
I think the biggest thing, first off, when Carson's addiction started, I understand that reaction because in a way I don't know if embarrassing would be the word, but definitely not something you want to hear or accept or take on. And I think the older I've gotten and the more I've seen with Carson, his addiction, and my family, I think I've learned that with drugs, just people who use drugs, people who drink, they're people, like, just, because they do drugs and because they drink or they, do things you might not do or agree with, it doesn't make them any less of a person.
Right.
Like 100%, They still have their soul, they're still children of God. They're still, they were made by the Creator and they're loved just as much as the next person. And I feel like when you get that point of view, when you talk about it and you raise awareness, and when you don't treat talking about addiction or addicts or all that, as like such a sensitive topic and such like I don't know, like with such disgust.
Right.
I think it changes. I think that's where it changes. Because, everyone's going to have their opinions and their outlook on those people. And I could have turned my back on Carson so many times, right? From things he said to me, from how he's treated me. But also a big thing is separating the addiction from the addict. Because it's a disease. It's separate. It's not, it's the drugs. Like it is. And that's like one of the hardest things to get over too, is that when they do say things and do things, it's not necessarily them. Right. It's just hard to get over. But yeah, that's where because I feel like once I started realizing that of like, okay, like I don't have to be embarrassed. Like I don't, like this is my brother. Even with homeless people, like we see a lot of homeless people, like that's someone's family. Yeah. Like that's, and we sometimes look down on homeless people so much. But I always say like homeless people are homeless. They're not soulless. Yeah. Like they have a soul. That's someone's daughter. That's someone's son. That's someone's, that's someone that is. So I feel like once you change that like perspective of, okay, like this is still my brother. Like this is still like really this person. Right. And okay, they have a disease or okay, they're struggling with something, and being able to kind of take a step back out of yourself and how you might feel in the situation and be like, okay, this person needs help. Right. Because they do. Like those people need help. Like truthfully, they need a community of people that can help them. They need people to talk to them like normal people, or they need to hear like AA. They need to hear stories of other people struggling. They need love. Yeah. They do.
One thing that has, with my kids that I told them the whole time growing up, and I even see it as an adult, is really I was really always interested in who my kids' friends were. Did Carson's friend circle change, or what sort of tempted him to even try drugs? Because again, I know your parents, and it's just not something. I know that they talked with you guys about all this stuff.
Yeah.
So, I didn't notice changes in my children. I noticed changes with me even as an adult, depending on who my friend circle is. They say that I always spend the most time with is who you're like. And I am a 100% believer. But did you find that to be true? So like if you're a parent or you're a spouse or it's your cousin or whatever, and you're seeing changes with a friend group, was that a trigger or at all to say like, oh, what's different? Or is that just not?
No, I think, 100%, like when I say you never know when your kids are smoking or whatever, his friends started smoking and but he did the same things and he happened to go down a different road than they did.
Right.
So sometimes too, it's not even necessarily who you're hanging out with. Like I know 100% his friend group changed. It did change pretty frequently once he started taking that other path. I know 100% he started surrounding himself with more of those people who were interested in the same things as him.
Right.
But that also happens, when I've seen, usually when addicts, they'll start with one thing and they may even do that one thing with all their friends. And then it might start to not be enough for them. The friends are fine with it.
Right.
But the addict might be like, oh, I'm needing to move on to something different. So then they move on to something different and the friends are like, no, not my thing. So then they have to go find a group of people that will engage in that behavior with them and do that with them.
Right.
And it's cool to them and it's fun. And then it may cycle again. Oh, like I need something strong, and it goes to that. And then of course, you find yourself like he was surrounding himself with like worse and worse people as time went on. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you were able to tell someone who is in the same position you are, as a sister, as a family member, how, because I know it's been a lot, how have you been able to find the path of, first of all, taking your pain to purpose, but then also just to be able to get through those really hard days? Because I know some of those days for you are just brutal.
Yeah. For me, God, it's the only thing for me that has gotten me through anything and everything. Having faith, learning to have faith that's can't be shaken. That's a huge thing. And that's hard.
It is.
I'm not going to say my faith has never been 100%. I find myself being how do I have faith in the situation? How do I have hope? How do I see God redeeming this situation? I don't know what's going to happen. This is scary. This is, whatever. But then turning around and being like, no, you know what, God? This is it's in your hands. It's in your control. You got me. You got him. It's going to be fine. And then also, I feel talking about it and my perspective changing, I feel as my faith got stronger, as I got closer to God, because honestly, I don't know where I would be at this point with my faith if I hadn't gone through the things I went through with Carson. I'd always tell my mom, it sounds so terrible because Carson's addiction has been so hard on, so many people. And it's 100% been the hardest things that we've ever dealt with, me and my family.
Yeah.
And I want to change it for anything. And that's, I've seen my brother in so much pain. I've seen my mom in so much pain. I've been in so much pain. But there's just something about God being able to turn this situation into such a beautiful moment of I get to sit here and talk to you, and I get to talk to other people about addiction. I get to have a platform of speaking from my experiences and helping people, even if it just helps one person, or even, if someone just wants to learn more about addiction, or even bringing awareness to like our small little community,
Right.
because it's so, I feel like, kind of taboo in a way,
Right.
and not wanting to be talked about. So I feel like my mom having her Instagram and being so outspoken and showing people what addiction looks like and showing that, I think it's...
And what's the name of her Instagram?
It's Addict's Mama Bear, I believe is what it is. Yeah.
I thought it was something.
Yeah, so she posts on there, updates of what we're dealing with Carson. The last time Carson was sober before he went to jail this couple months ago, even he, he was telling my mom, like, you need to post pictures. Like, these people in this community need to see it. And like just us, it's just turned into this beautiful thing. God has truly, like, he's redeeming the situation, and he's what is it? Turning beauty from beauty into, or ashes, and what is it?
Beauty from Ashes.
Beauty from ashes.
That's
yes.
right.
Beauty from ashes. It's been, it's getting better. The older I'm getting, learning how to handle things and all that, and leaning more on God in all these situations. But I would not change it for anything. My family's grown closer. We have the dynamic we have now because of it. I feel like who I am as a person, being able to be that open-minded, loving, forgiving, accepting person, I think that just comes with the territory of being Carson's sister. It's just, how God intended it to happen. And without him, I don't know where any of us would be, truthfully. He's the foundation for sure. Yeah.
So thank you for sharing all of this. It's really important. I mean, the drug epidemic is real. And like you said, in our small town, sometimes it's hard to see because really we have such a lovely community. And it's really hard to think that anybody that we know, including one of our family members, would get involved in something that we see, like you said, as something that's like sort of for other people or for people who are like us and whatnot. And so opening our eyes to it is hard.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, I know with the death of my husband, it taught me so much, and I wouldn't be the person today that I am if it weren't for that happening. Now I take him back, believe me. But the point being is that, I can't change that. But what I can do is change what happens next. And that's really what you're doing. And I'm so proud of you because you're a young lady.
Yeah.
I'm an old, it's kind of like you can't teach an old dog a new trick.
No.
So, I'm so proud of you for doing this important work. And like you said, if you save one life, it's worth it.
Yeah. Well, and even too, I think, like somewhere in the future, I'm wanting to do more things, get more involved with the community. I'm wanting to do stuff at Kingsburg High School. I think for like a long time, this town, like when we speak about drug addiction or all that, it's like our Red Ribbon Week. And it's talking about, like hugs, not drugs, and, putting the silly socks on, and having the crazy hair.
Right.
And I just think, I think we can do better. I think we can, because like I said, these are people.
Yeah. Well, and the reality is that I think it's great from the standpoint of it starts the conversation.
Yeah.
But I think as kids get older, we have to have the conversations about like the things like the real world.
I think it needs to continue. I don't think we need to stop there. Yeah. I think getting something in this community that keeps it going beyond, these kids, because it is important for these little children to hear about it. But it's hitting like high schoolers and junior high, or like it's hitting that age group and older. And I think it would help a lot. And I think it would make a big change if we do stuff like that in the community. And I think people but I hope people who are struggling with addiction in this community and who feel like outsiders, who feel like they aren't seen or loved or any of that, I hope that this community can start talking about it and, bring them out of the shadows and love them and embrace them and treat them like humans and just us all love each other. It's about all we can do.
It is.
Yeah.
So before we end, I'm going to put you on the spot because I forgot to tell you I do this. And at the end of every episode, I ask the question, what did you do to step into your life?
Okay.
So I think there's something kind of new that you're doing that you're really, I see you stepping into really cool adulthood. But I don't know. What have you done to step into your life?
Stepping into life. Well, I think first off, when it comes to Carson, I'm learning to not let my life be centered around his addiction, not letting it define me, not letting it affect me the way it used to.
Right.
I just opened my new business.
I'm so excited. So it's the Collective.
Yes.
In Kingsburg, California, for anybody who's near, but you can also look on the Instagram.
Yes. Yes, it's Kingsburg Collective on Instagram. It's a co-op there's 11 different girls in there. They all are local and have their handmade products, and they're amazing. And it's been such there's such a godsend in the business. And I feel like right now that's me stepping into it and really, doing something I love. Not having Carson's addiction on the front burner, kind of back there. It's time for me to live my life. It's time for me to do my thing. And yeah, I feel like right now that's me stepping into it. I love it. I'm so proud of you. Thank you.
So everyone, thank you for joining us. And if you want more information on the Narcan program, it is, say the website one more time.
It's end overdose either .com or .org.
Okay, we'll link it down below so that you guys can put it on the screen so that you can see that. But please join us in a movement to normalize conversations about mental health and grief and what it takes us to, which sometimes is drug use. So anyway, again, it's really a privilege to come to you today. And I'll say it again, watch our next episode and let's journey together.